What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition and episode of Challenge Conversations. I'm your host, Travis McKenzie. I'm super excited to welcome today's guest to the show. Kikkan Randall, who will be joining here us momentarily, is an Olympic gold medalist, a cancer fighter, an amazing mom, an amazing partner, an all-around badass athlete, supported and sponsored by our friends Al Albin. I'm excited for today's conversation. So let's bring her in. Kikkan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Travis. It's great to be here. Great to connect with you again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited. Recently we shared an article that you were featured in, talking about your life as an athlete, talking about how you utilized your athletic skill and your history and your perseverance through your cancer battle. But I want to start a little bit further back. I would say that probably the highlight of your life, other than having your kids, is potentially winning an Olympic gold medal. I can safely say you're the first gold medalist we've had on the show. Why don't you tell me about what that experience was like? You know, there's a long history and a long career there, but what was that like, knowing that your culmination of all that hard work that you'd put in came to be in that moment?
Well, it really felt like a storybook ending. When I was 19, I went to my first Olympics in Salt Lake City, and it was a dream come true at the time, following my heroes around, getting to represent my country. But at that point, no American woman had ever won an Olympic medal in cross country. We had one men's silver medal from 1976, well before I was born, and it just really seemed like there wasn't much of a future in American skiing. But standing in the crowd, watching the medalists go up on the podium, I decided I wanted to try to go after that medal somehow, some way. And so I sat down with my coaches and we kind of mapped out like all the benchmarks I would have to meet to get there. And as we planned it out, it was going to take 10 years. And at 19 years old, that was daunting. But at the same time, I could see where I was going. So it set me on this path, which ultimately took me through 5 Olympics. And coming into the 2014 Olympics, I had actually built myself into a gold medal favorite in the individual sprint. So I went into those Olympics, high hopes, so confident, ended up 0.05 of a second short in the quarterfinals, no medal. But I was inspired to keep going for one more Olympics to contribute to the team effort that I'd really built. So came into the 2018 Olympics knowing it was my final season, my last Olympics. Didn't get the call to be on the team sprint until 36 hours before the race. So just was really trying to make sure I had no regrets, leave it all out there, soak in the experience. And the race just unfolded. It was exciting every single moment. It was tense. It was just everything you want from a good race. And I got to sit there and, on the finish line and watch Jessie come down that last 100 meters and come out with this Herculean effort and end up beating Sweden by 0.2 of a second to win the gold medal. And the most incredible part of that was that it came in a team event. I was all about team. And as I stood up on the podium and had the medal put around my neck, I could not believe the weight of these things. They are so dang heavy. But I realized they make these things so heavy because it was such a journey in the making. It was years of belief and sticking with it and, doing it together. And it was so special. And it was the ultimate way to end my 20-year professional ski career.
Incredible. I have one question for you. Do you sleep with it under your pillow?
Well, the funny story is the night we got the medals, my son wasn't with me at the time. So I was FaceTiming with him. I was showing him the medal and I had set it down and then later on forgot, went to sleep, woke up in the morning, looked at my bedside table and went, oh my God, the medal is gone. And then rolled over and realized that something hard was in the bed. And literally the medal had been with me under my pillow all night. So yeah, go. Pretty much. It never leaves my side.
Incredible. And what a great story. I know that you've been really talked about as a trailblazer for US skiing. And I know there is a future generation that's coming because of the work and the effort and the energy you put into your sport and the diligence you put in. Why don't you share a little bit about that and how you've been able to really carve a path for those coming after you?
Well, I would say that's one of my proudest accomplishments is knowing that I'm leaving the team better off than when I started. When I first made the World Cup squad, I was the only US woman and we had to sit out relays. Yeah. And now we contend for medals in the Olympics and the World Championships. And The women that are on the team now are incredibly strong. I mean, so strong, I almost didn't make the team myself. But then you have this group of under 23 athletes that are setting benchmarks. And then behind them, we have world junior level athletes. And so that, like, now we have this pipeline. And I heard a story that a parent overheard two 7-year-old boys last winter playing around in the stadium. No one was watching. And they were like, okay, you be Jesse and I'll be Kikkan. And, you know, it's like the power of belief that we've been able to create, the system. It's so cool. And I love it because, yeah, I mean, ski racing is fun and winning medals is cool, but the lifestyle of it, the skills you learn, the enjoyment you get out of it, it's so incredible. And I want as many people to experience that as possible.
Yeah, it's amazing. Now, tell me about how that kind of translates. I know that there is a segment of an amateur community of people who love to ski in the wintertime. You know, I lived quite a while in Vancouver. We're now in the Northeast. So there is this community of amateur sport. Why do you think that may not have necessarily translated to the professional side of the sport up until now?
Yeah, I mean, if you really look at ski communities worldwide, the U.S. and Canada are some of the bigger markets in the world. I mean, yeah, like everyone in Norway is born with skis on their feet, but they're a small country. So if you take the number of people that are recreationally doing it, we should, in theory, have the advantage. But we also have professional sports that dominate a lot of attention, both on the media, but also the kids that are participating in sports. And our sport, because it takes 10 years to develop, oftentimes we don't have the support structure to allow athletes to spend that amount of time developing. It's like if they don't show potential at 19 or 20, well, then you got to get a college education, you got to get a job. Like people haven't seen the value in this type of lifestyle. And especially when we hadn't proved we could be successful, it was like, well, why would you do that? But now we've shown it's possible. That it's a great way to entertain people and that there's a lot of good that comes out of it in terms of inspiring people to be healthy and active. So we are now making a case for why you should dedicate your life to skiing. And because we've done that, we have more athletes doing it. And that's why we're seeing success at various levels now.
Yeah, that's great. That trickle-down effect of what people see on TV always helps, and the funding then obviously follows. So, well, hats off to you. Thank you so much for doing that for your compatriots and the generations to come. Now, I want to put a pause on that for a moment. You win the Olympic gold medal, you're on a high, you're riding a high, and then a short period of time after, you receive a diagnosis that you have stage 2 breast cancer. So going from the highest of the highs to potentially the lowest of the lows. You were fit, young, healthy, no history in your family of cancer. Tell me about what that was like for you.
It was so unexpected. Like you said, I mean, I really was in the shape of my life. I was on cloud 9 from just having such a great sense of accomplishment, ending my career, being excited about the next chapter. And my family and I had just moved from Alaska down to British Columbia. And it was Mother's Day. And it was just the most beautiful day. My husband and my son went out for a hike. I remember that day kind of just soaking in that sun and feeling so content. And it was getting ready for bed that night that I just happened to brush past a hard spot in my chest. It was about the size of a pea. I mean, it could have easily been missed, but I felt it and I knew that didn't seem right and that I should get it checked. And I really credit the awareness and education I got growing up to know, even if you're healthy and fit, if something's not right, go get it checked. It's likely nothing, but in case it is. So I went in, I saw the doctor. He's looking at me going, yeah, you're healthy and fit. It's probably nothing, but let's do the scans. That took a couple of weeks. But eventually it revealed that I had actually stage 2 breast cancer and it had already moved to a lymph node. So it was on the move and it was very serious. And I just remember in that moment, like how vulnerable I felt because I'd been this like strong athlete. I almost had this invincibility complex. And then all of a sudden, like, wait, this is not something I can outwork or outwill. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. And as I started to process all those emotions, it was amazing how quickly like my athlete reflexes kind of kicked into place of going like, okay, let's, stop. Let's look at the situation. Okay, there's a bunch of stuff we can't control. So let's put that to the side. Let's figure out what we can do. Okay, this is a big challenge. Let's break it down into small things. Okay, don't do this alone. You're going to need a team. And that team is going to be more important than ever. So, not being shy about telling people what I was going through, reaching out and saying like, hey, this is what is happening. I need your help. And then deciding like, okay, as I go through this, I'm going to stay active and I'm just going to stay hopeful, because that is the one thing I can hang on to. Yeah.
Now, you do credit obviously your activity and your athlete mindset and the way that you approached your career as an athlete for really helping you approach the way that you fought cancer. And you also mentioned something before the show around, not giving up. People think that, well, if Kikkan can get cancer, what's the point? So why don't you talk a little bit more about that, of like the attitude that you were able to take from that and what you've learned and you've been able to share, after your battle that has really resonated with other people?
Well, it was something that immediately hit my mind, was just the frustration of just like, wait a second, this isn't fair. I've done everything right. I exercise, I eat all the things they tell you to do to prevent getting cancer. I did, and I still got cancer. But instead of dwelling on that, I quickly realized, well, obviously I'm not immune to it. So let's look at why all those things that I've done are going to set me up and help me through this process. So I'm coming into it with a lot of strength. I'm coming into it with that, like, kind of those tools around mindset that are going to kind of help me process this and get through it day by day. And as I went through my treatment, I was really seeing all the parallels, and seeing, like, literally when I'm walking into an infusion ward and I'm looking around at all the people that are dealing with it. And granted, we're on different regimens and things, but, I expected to feel horrible, and I had my tough days, but those weren't that many because I was able to stay active. I was bouncing back quickly. And so I really believe all the things I did coming into my diagnosis helped me tremendously. And now that I've been able to connect with people who have gone through the same experience, we're finding the same thing, that getting out and riding your bike to your chemotherapy sessions, it does wonders for your body and your mind. And you just have to kind of, release expectations and go, okay, maybe I won't be able to do everything I normally expect myself to do, but I'm going to keep doing those things that are central to who I am. And then it's amazing how quickly you bounce back, and the power of seeing someone that you can relate to do it, I know was so important for me. And now to hear that my example has helped others figure out and have the courage through their thing. I think this is an untapped resource or untapped knowledge that we can't talk about enough.
Yeah. I've also read that you really credit your mindset and the power of positivity, both in your career as an athlete, but also through your cancer battle. Tell us a little bit more about that and how you see that playing out, and the power of your mind and the power of your words that you speak.
Well, I always knew that staying positive, being resilient, was a key to my success as an athlete. Because like I said, my process took 16 years from the time I decided I wanted to win a medal to when it actually happened. Yeah. And there were a lot of points along the way where it was tough and it was tempting to quit or back down. But I kind of always said, but there's no reason I can't do it, and tomorrow might be better. I mean, the next hour might be better. And using some strategies that kind of helped me pull me out of those tough moments to ultimately unlock more potential than I ever thought I could. Yeah. I would say all the best things in my ski career happened after something really hard. Yeah. So as I started to go into the cancer thing, I was recognizing those similarities and going like, okay, this is going to be the hardest challenge I've ever faced, because there's no time limit on it. There's no certainties. I can't choose to stop. In the middle of a VO2 max test, I could say, oh, okay, I'm just too hard. I want to do it. But treatment, you got to do it because you got to save your life. So I just kind of recognized that, like, okay, I've just really got to hone in on the things I can control. I've got to believe that the treatment's going to work, and that I'm, after a tough period, I'm going to be able to get back to feeling good and doing all those things I can, because you have a choice. You can choose. Why can't it be that way? And that's what'll get you through the day-to-day and those toughest moments. And I think keeping that positive vision is so important, but it's a very intentional, conscious choice. And I had to employ some strategies when even me, like, I'm mentally strong, I'm a naturally positive person. I faltered. I had times where I let myself get into the negative spin. If I can't do this, the worst thing's going to happen. So one thing that helped me, of course, was my amazing team, my family, my 2-year-old son, my friends, so many people that I didn't even expect to be a part of this journey were sending me words of encouragement. And then a pair of rainbow colored running shoes ended up making a really big difference for me, of just like seeing bright colors and reminding myself to stay hopeful. And so it's amazing how you plant those things in your life to help you through the tough moments, and you get through it.
Yeah, you call on them when you need them. I know that you also had a goal. You kind of set yourself some goals post battle, post fight, post treatment. Tell us about that. I know, publicly that you did the New York Marathon, and you had an amazing experience with that, and you did some good and raised awareness. Tell us about that experience.
Well, what was so funny about this whole thing is, while I was racing, before I ever had an inkling I would have a personal connection to cancer, I'd gotten involved with an organization called Active Against Cancer. It was co-founded by Greta Waitz, the Norwegian distance runner who won the New York City Marathon 9 times. Phenomenal athlete, phenomenal female athlete. She got cancer, and she realized that physical activity was such a critical part to helping her get through it. And so, inspired by my association with Active, I said, when I retire from skiing, I want to run the New York Marathon. It's going to be a fun challenge, outside of my wheelhouse. It'll be a great time to raise awareness. So that was my plan for the fall of 2018.
Yeah.
Well, when I got my diagnosis, I realized that was going to complicate that plan. I initially entertained the idea of still trying to do the marathon, although partway through chemo, I started to realize that just because I can doesn't mean I should. Like, I figured that was probably putting my body under more stress than I needed to. So I resorted to going out and cheering some friends. But I said, a year from now, when I'm done with my treatment, I want to come back. And I don't want to just come back to run it. Like, I want to give myself a goal. So I just kind of calculated loosely off my 5K time. And I thought, 3 hours, that's about a 6:15 per mile pace. That sounds pretty reasonable. That's my goal. And so I put it out there. I told people about it. And then I started doing the training, and I was so humbled. Being able to replicate that pace mile after mile and getting my legs ready to handle the pounding after coming off of so much ski training. I really questioned why I had picked such a challenging goal, but I followed a training plan for about 8 months. I gradually built myself back up, and it was amazing. Like, having the cancer experience in the back of my mind, I felt like even on those days where the training was hard, I was so happy to be out there. I was so appreciative of being able to do it, that it got me through like running laps around a cruise ship and things. And then come to race day in New York, 5 a.m. We're over on Staten Island getting ready. And I just was so grateful for the beautiful day. I had a couple friends there to run with me. I was like, had that happy, nervous feeling, and the race just went so well.
Yeah.
We paced it smart, came in and ran my fastest 2 miles at the end, and came in at 2:55. And gosh, crossing that finish line was such an incredible feeling, knowing all that had gone into it and being able to like say to myself, like, hey, I'm back.
Yeah.
I think I ran that marathon as fast as it would have ever had I not had cancer in the first place.
Right. Yeah, it was actually really cool. I was on the sidelines last year watching the race, and I saw everyone was cheering for you. Like, everyone around, I was like, oh, there's Kikkan, good job. And you look, I was on the climb up by Central Park, but just before you go into the park. So having done New York myself a number of times, well and not so well, I know how good you can feel in that point, and know how bad you can also feel. You looked at it, and you were smiling and happy and waving to the crowd. So it was really cool to witness that on your behalf as well. So what a great memory, really cool. And tell me a little bit more about kind of the other work you're doing with Active Against Cancer. I know you've done some other events and other experiences, and we're excited to welcome you into the fold with the Dempsey Center and the Dempsey Challenge. But I'd love to hear about more of the work you have been doing, the speaking you've been doing, the awareness building, etc.
Well, I have seen throughout my life the power of role models. I was really fortunate to have some incredible role models growing up that taught me about being healthy and active, taught me to go for big dreams, taught me to persevere through tough challenges. And when I got my cancer diagnosis, the first thing I did was Google athletes with cancer, because I knew I needed to have some connection to someone that I could relate to give me that hope that I was going to be able to get through this. And I was fortunate to find a physiology study about a 39-year-old triathlete who they had actually done VO2 max tests on her through her treatment. And they proved that 6 months post-treatment, she was back to like almost her pre-cancer levels. So when I saw that, I went, okay, yeah, I can do that. And at the same time, you Google athletes with cancer and there's not a lot of information about how to exercise, who's done it. So my work since my treatment has been really around like, how can we tell these stories? How can we give people role models and inspiration to know that you don't have to be an Olympic athlete, but if you are an active person, you can remain active through your treatment, and that's going to serve you so well. And if you haven't been active, this is a great reason to get active. So giving people, kind of tips, and that's both the physical, actually what you should do, but more importantly, just that mindset. I love talking about the parallels of what helped me in skiing and how that's helped me with cancer, and how that now maybe helps us through COVID-19, where so much is out of your control and you really have to rely on that mindset again. So I love getting out and telling stories to help plant the seed with people that they have this same power, this same toolkit, essentially, to get through hard things and to go after big dreams. So I love that. I spoke on cruise ships last summer, which was wild, and I've done a ton of cool connections in the cancer world. But I love the community around people. And I think, the more we can connect these stories and these people, whether it's information or mentorship, and that's why I'm really excited to be connecting in with the Dempsey Center, because, I've seen the rides you guys do and the research and the support, most importantly for people who are going through cancer. And I also love that you're in Maine, with my friends at LL Bean. It's just such a great connection. And I just think there's so much potential to continue to grow these positive messages about what can help and what you can do.
Yeah, amazing. Really well said. And I think one thing that and that most of the viewers know is we do really focus on nutrition. We focus on fitness and movement at the center. We offer those services now virtually as well as in person when we can come back together. So I think it would be amazing to have a Kikkan Randall class that we can all take together, and we can create some kind of program around fitness and movement. I think that'll be a really fun initiative. And as you mentioned, the challenge, part of what we do with the challenge is really getting people active. We have our Strava challenge, which is going on right now throughout September. We have 110,000 people from around the world who have set the goal of moving 50 miles for the month. And for some people, that is going to be down to the wire. They're doing their 2-mile walk every day, and some people are crushing it. But it's so amazing to see that we can bring a community together around the world around activity and promote the work of what we do at the center and the challenge as well. And as you know, we're bringing together a Zwift broadcast with Patrick, and you'll be a special guest on the show as well, where our goal is to break a world record, the biggest virtual group ride in the history. So we're excited to have you as a part of that. Tell me about some of that other activity that you do. You've got your son, you're out in beautiful British Columbia. What does a regular week look like for you now that, we're all at home, so it may not be regular, but I know you're active. So tell me about kind of what that looks like for you right now.
It was a really interesting transition from going into like my ski career where, for almost 20 years, 11 months out of the year, I was doing 2 workouts a day, totally oriented towards a specific goal. So when I retired at first, I was like, woohoo, I'm not a slave to my training plan anymore. I can do anything. And then I quickly got paralyzed by indecision, because I was like, well, because there's so many choices every day, and thankfully living in this amazing place, it's like I can do 3 different kinds of biking. I can trail run. I can be on the water. So I was kind of chasing everything and having a hard time deciding, and then realizing that because I was so scattered, I didn't feel myself really improving in any one thing. So that's when I realized, like, man, I'm motivated by structure and goals. So last year I picked the marathon, which got me running a lot more. This year has been super fun. I've been out on the mountain bike a ton. I also got a gravel bike, which has been a great way to explore. Been super into trail running. Last year I did a little open water swimming. This year, haven't quite been into that, but something on my list is to try an Xterra triathlon. And so to me, being physically active is something I have to do every day. Like, it's a part of my productivity, how I feel about myself. And so I integrate it in however I can. And some days I get lucky that I can kind of go do what I want and take a good part of the day. Some days, like last night, I'm taking classes right now, and I had just spent a very full day between board meetings and computer work. So I got to the end of the day and I hadn't exercised. And so while I was in class, I set my spin bike under my desk and I got in almost an hour and a half spin while I was, listening to the lectures in class. So I think you have a little creativity. There's so many different ways that you can exercise and move throughout the day, and you piece it together. But man, just that little bit every day I find is so important, particularly for being able to keep that right mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important. I think part of that is just priority. Everyone's got a lot on their plate. It's really busy. So making sure that you prioritize that movement every day and finding a way to make it happen. And I think that's what we've been able to kind of teach throughout this month, at least on the Strava challenge. So this has been amazing. You're an incredible role model for so many people now, I'm sure, in the skiing world, in the cancer world. We're so grateful for your time. We're so grateful for your energy. And we can't wait to have you more and more involved in what we're doing with the center. We can't wait to have you as a part of our Zwift broadcast next week as well, to share your story to a broader audience. So Kikkan, any final words, anything else you want to leave us with before we sign off?
I'm just super excited to be a part of this team now. And like I said, let's all just kind of celebrate what we can do, make the most of every day, and just remember in those tough moments, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, love it. Well said. Kikkan, you're a star. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll chat to you soon.
All right. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. What a star. That was amazing. I have goosebumps. I'm so inspired and motivated. I feel like I need to go and run now because I've been sitting still all day. So I'm going to go and do that. Please, if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, share them in the chat. We'll get them to Kikkan. We'll make sure we bring her on the show again. Stay tuned for more challenge conversations next week. And then obviously challenge weekend coming up on the 26th and 27th. So lots more to come from there. I'm your host, Travis McKenzie, signing off. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again soon.